welcome back Jay Payleitner.
We sat there for just 6 or 8 minutes, and it was huge to me. 10 years old.
Pass it on, share the gospel clear and strong. Stand for, claim your heritage of truth.
Welcome to Heritage of Truth. Today we welcome back Jay Payleitner. Welcome, Jay.
Hi, Jeanne. How are you?
This is becoming a habit.
It's a privilege to hang out with you.
Yeah, well, we really appreciate your being our guest. You have a new book coming out called What If God Wrote Your Bucket List? 52 Things You Don't Want to Miss. Now, this is intriguing. Now, for people like me who didn't know what a bucket list was until recently, can you explain a bucket list?
Well, there was a movie out a few years back, and bucket list, I think, is a relatively new term. The movie called The Bucket List, I think it was, with Morgan Freeman and Jack Nicholson, about two guys making some bad decisions in life, and they made a bucket list together. And the things they traveled, they both had cancer or terminal illness, and they were checking off items on their bucket list as they went around. And it's a pretty interesting concept.
So it's things that you want to get
things that
done.
you want to get done before you die, before you kick the bucket.
Oh, I see. Okay, now we get it.
Oh, well, there you go. My dad passed away. My mom passed. So there's some things going on in my life, and I'm thinking about heritage and legacy and such. And most of my books have been about relationships for dads and for moms and husbands and wives, kind of thing. But this is your relationship with God. I mean, come on, the ultimate one. And it almost is like things you gotta take care of some business. If you ask the world out there what should be on a bucket list, they would say things like,
go skydiving.
Or go skydiving, or climb Mount Everest, or have dinner with the president, or visit all 30 baseball parks. You know, things, a bucket list, things you got to do. And you know what? If you want to visit all 30 baseball parks, Major League Baseball, that's fine. That's fine. If you want to swim with the sharks, if that's on your bucket list, fine.
I don't think so.
Well, but maybe some of your listeners, and those are fine. And you know, God sort of even honors that. He wants this to be a joyous experience, I believe, on earth.
Yeah.
But those kind of things are not on God's bucket list.
Right.
And so I kind of explored 52 different areas. It's not an exhaustive list of everything that you got to do or think, but some things that you got to make sure that you kind of get your bases covered before you kick the bucket. And that's the book. And the same format, 52 short chapters. That's my sweet spot. I write 52 short chapters, so if one chapter resonates with you, it's like, then the next one might be a little silly, it might be very serious. It gives me a chance to write short and throw some scripture in there and
reach a wider audience too.
Folks who don't read, this is not a big 500-page theological treatise on what God needs from us. It's a kind of I didn't think about that. I guess I got to think about that too. That's something I need to consider. That's something I should be doing or working on. I need to connect with these people, kind of thing. Yeah.
Okay. Well, there's one, Drive Through the Storm.
One of the early chapters is on the bucket list is the idea of we have to drive through the storm. And it's like so many of the chapters in the books I write, it just starts with a story, often about me. And this goes back to when I was 10 years old. I lived in Chicago with my folks, and the four of us kids, we drove to Albuquerque to a long trip. We camped down to Albuquerque and to see my grandparents, and then camped on the way back. We drove through a storm in the middle of the day, and you get to your campsite. It was dry, so you set up the camp, and then the storm comes through overnight and just washes everything out, and you're packing up a wet tent, and you don't sleep very well. But you wake up in the morning and it's sunny out, and then what happens again, because we're driving east, the next day we're driving east, and you drive through the storm again. You drive through the storm. The tent is damp, but you say it's a dry spot, and the storm comes through again. 5 nights in a row, we would drive through this storm. Thank you for laughing. And it was fine. It was an adventure. I was 10 years old. It was an adventure. But one of those days happened to be a Sunday. And we were church-going folks. So my folks, they felt like they needed to find a church. So this is before cell phones and all those kind of things, and you didn't know where we're going. We finally pulled up at a little country kind of church as the last service was getting out. And so we didn't go to church service that day.
Mm.
But my dad, we still got out, and we kind of walked in the back of this kind of empty church by now, and we sat there for just 6 or 8 minutes, and it was huge to me. 10 years old, we'd seen God's power the last 5 nights in a row. And I saw how my mom and dad felt it was important enough to connect with God in this moment. It was just a Sunday morning. You can miss church. It's okay to miss church, you know. But they wanted to, for some reason, they felt like, and that was really, I looked back, that could have been a pivotal moment to me, and what was really important. And I don't know, it wasn't to my brothers and sisters. They don't even remember this, but I still remember this so clearly.
Yeah.
My mom and dad's determination to get us, and we didn't spend. We were sitting in the little church little chapel for 6 minutes.
Yeah.
It wasn't like this big spiritual experience, but it was. So we need to drive through the storm, and we need to see that our foundation, and the scripture verse, of course, is build your foundation on God, not on the rock, because the storms are going to come.
That's
Jeanne,
right.
the storms are going to come.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just, I told that story in 3 or 4 pages, and you can see how that's really a foundational kind of thing. What if God wrote your bucket list? On your bucket list has to be the idea that you need to build your life on a foundation that's going to withstand some of the tougher times, and a 10-year-old can get that. Yeah,
What a great story.
it is.
Becoming like little children is one of the ones you mentioned.
Well, what if God wrote your bucket list? One of those things in the bucket list would be we have to become like little children. Now, we certainly later on we have to mature and go from spiritual milk to spiritual food, but sometimes
we have to be like little children.
Sometimes it's good to go, God, you're my father. I'm pretty helpless here. I need you. And the story I tell here is my son Isaac. We used to call him Cartoon Boy. I have 4 sons. He's my baby. I have 4 sons and a daughter. He's my baby son. And he's Cartoon Boy. He'd jump off. He'd tie a towel around his neck and jump off of coffee tables. And but when he was out doing a little garden plot we had with my wife Rita and raking, the rake was there. He turned it over and stepped on it, and it came up, smacked him in the head.
Ooh, ow.
And he said, "It works! It works!" Because little kids, they see cartoons and they see what a fabulous moment that is in the life of a kid to see that sometimes the cartoon stuff works. The cake didn't work, but the rake coming up and hitting like a Three Stooges movie kind of thing. Yeah. We don't understand God's ways, but it's okay because we are His children, and we need to see Him as a loving Father that's going to take care of us. And those aren't things to do, but they're the things to understand, and that's what the book is filled with.
Okay. Well, how about getting fired?
Oh, well, that's one.
That's on the bucket list.
Well,
get fired?
yeah. Well, I get maybe this is that chapter might have been me just justifying my incompetence. On your bucket list needs to be some personal and professional disappointments, and to me that was getting fired. I sold photocopiers for the A.B. Dick Company.
Oh.
And it was terrible. Don't buy that Xerox or Minolta or Canon. Buy my A.B. Dick copier. It was a terrible job. I was terrible at it, and I got fired. And it was a good thing because I am who I am today. I look back and see how God used everything. And that's the key to that chapter would be, you know what? When personal and professional disappointment, that chapter is about getting fired. When professional disappointments happen, God's going to have you be an overcomer if you allow Him to. If you, on your bucket list needs to be surviving some of these things, because if you just go through life and don't take any chances or don't work, you can't get through life without disappointment. So you have to figure out how to deal with that. So that was that story. It's a longer, sadder, pathetic kind of boy, oh boy. And I just sales reps on a commission sales, trying to provide for a family.
That's
God
hard.
bless them. It's hard.
Yeah.
Or good. Some of them are really good at it. I was not.
Yeah. Well, how about dodging counterfeit happiness?
There's a lot of counterfeit happiness out there. Some's nastier than others. My chosen addiction was caffeine. And I think I wrote that chapter at about 3 a.m. in the morning. after I had
About 10 cups of coffee.
I had had some coffee after dinner,
Oh,
and so it made me think through that idea of drinking half a bottle of scotch. If that's people do that every day here in America, it might cause you to forget your problems for a while, or it might. But that's counterfeit.
Right.
That is not even close to real happiness. That is not even remotely in the vicinity of, and that's just counterfeit happiness. So we need to dodge counterfeit happiness. And it's a 3-page chapter. It's not a lecture. It's not a lecture on addiction. The takeaway there would be, listen, you can find freedom from addiction. My little 3-page chapter is not going to do that for you. But there are resources out there. And maybe for some folks, this little chapter here might kick them out of it a notch a little bit. I hope so. The chapter won't beat you up. I'm not here to beat people up. I'm just here to let them know, you know what? There's joy out there that comes from the Lord and not from whatever habit you might choose.
Well, how about entertain angels?
Well, that was just a chance for me. Again, 52 chapters, and the kind of things that we need to embrace and understand that would be on God's bucket list for us would be the idea that we have to acknowledge that angels exist. And there's a couple of stories that I've heard that seem to be legit about angels just kind of showing up. And I don't think I've experienced it personally that I would want to say that angels, but a friend it tells me a story, or you hear other things that are like, oh, yeah. Because angels do exist.
Oh, yeah.
Somebody's getting robbed in an alley, and all of a sudden the thief starts running away because he sees 2 big old dudes behind his victim, and those victims, those dudes aren't there all of a sudden. Angels show up. So entertain angels, and that's in the book.
Okay, how about do typical bucket list stuff?
Oh, well, halfway through the book, chapter 26, because people will pick up this book, What If God Wrote Your Bucket List, because they think it's things to do. Because bucket lists are things to do. Climb Mount Everest, swim with sharks.
Right.
So I did dedicate one chapter to things that you might literally just want to do. And they're pretty obvious. Some of them are pretty obvious if you start thinking about it. You need to volunteer in a soup kitchen, maybe with your kids even. Read the entire Bible in a year, kind of a thing. Go on a short-term mission trip or a longer mission trip, if that's what. But everybody should get out of their comfort zone to go do something someplace for somebody who needs the gospel or needs some help, kind of thing. Stand on the rim of the Grand Canyon.
I'm still waiting to do that.
Yeah, I haven't done that either. I put that in the book. That's on my bucket list. That's on both my bucket lists. That's on God's bucket list for me, I think. Because well, I don't know that. We'll see. Go to visit the Holy Land. We should all probably, I haven't done this, look up at the Sistine Chapel to see that. That'd be where biblical history and architecture and things going on there.
I like attend to Sing Along Messiah at Christmas time.
There's the one in Chicago. It's awesome. Messiah.
Really?
It just fills the room. Everybody in the whole place is singing. It's not just a choir. It's everybody in the whole place is singing. Or
deliver an angel tree gift.
Deliver an angel tree gift. I've been working with Prison Fellowship for years, doing their radio work on that. Drop $500. Drop a huge donation in the Salvation Army kettle, and don't tell anybody. Could you imagine? Do you have the guts to do that? Drop like a gold Krugerrand in a. Go buy a Salvation Army kettle. That would be a rush. That would give you a rush for a year, wouldn't it? It'd be a great feeling. But don't tell anybody, because what's done in secret, it'll come back and reward you.
Your left hand's not supposed to know what your right hand's doing. So.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or 2 pennies. That works too. Put your
widow's mite.
Widow's mite.
Yeah. Okay, how about peek into dark corners?
Well, that's something I didn't make that up either. That's been around for a while. The idea to use your house as an assessment to what's going on in your life. You go to your dining room, think about your time with your family. You go to the kitchen, think about your health and what you're eating. Go to your bedroom, think about romance and marriage and what's important there.
Okay.
But there's going to be a dark closet that you don't want to open up.
Oh.
There's going to be a dark closet that you don't want to open up. And
you need to open up and
deal with it. So peek into dark corners.
Okay.
That's just a concept. It's a thought. On our bucket list, we need to kind of deal with some of the secret crud in our lives.
Yeah. Keep the opposite of a to-do list.
Keep the opposite of a to-do list.
What is opposite to do? Is it to don't?
To don't. That could be too. That's not. Keep a list of things not to do. That's a whole other chapter. I didn't make that. But it's the things that you've already done. You know what? My wife, I love her. She's awesome. She's wonderful. She's the best thing that ever happened to me. Mm-hmm. But she's got a to-do list for me. And as soon as I get up enough gumption and energy and time and money to scratch off one of her items on her to-do list, what does she do?
I don't know.
She adds 2 more things to the list.
Oh.
So we beat ourselves up on the things we have to do.
Oh, okay.
But sometimes we need to look and see what God has already done in our lives.
Oh.
If you're feeling pretty, man, that's just, I don't see, I got nothing going on, and life is tough, and I've got too many burdens. If we can go back and see, it's answered prayer. It's how God has answered our prayers. God has worked in our lives. It's like the done list. Keep an already done list.
I like that. Yeah.
You interviewed Jay Payleitner on your show today. Wow, that's something you already did. That's.
Well, where can people find Jay Payleitner online?
Jay Payleitner, P-A-Y. First name is J-J-A-Y. Last name is Payleitner. Good old German name, Payleitner. Even if you spell it wrong, and if you Google it, if you spell it wrong, it still comes to me. My other website is fathers52.com. Fathers52.com. You know what? I look forward to seeing what your bucket list is, Jeanne, next time we talk.
All right. Thank you for being our guest again.
I so appreciate you.